As Marie Kondo once said, this sparks joy. The other one does not spark joy. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Welcome to a special edition entry in the Disability Diaries, a disability vlog that explores the world of disabilities, disability rights, disability issues, what's good in the world of disabilities, what's bad in the world of disabilities, disability advocacy, and so much more. My name is Hope, and I am your turkey-tastic individual with mild autism. And I say that today because today we will be looking at a review of this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Now, some of you may have watched it on NBC, some of you may have watched it on CBS. My family watches it on NBC every year, have been since I was a little girl. And, this is where all the action is supposed to happen, is on NBC. And for those of you watching from outside the country, I know a few of my subscribers do watch from outside the United States, and you might not know about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. You may not know about it, and I'm just going to start off before I dive into this year's parade. So the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade started, I believe, in 1925. I believe they're almost 100. This was the 97th parade, so I think in 4 years it'll be the 100th parade, or 4 years from now. So anyway, this parade has been broadcast on NBC since 1957. They include songs from musicals. They have performances from the Broadway musicals as well. This year they had Spamalot. They had Back to the Future, which I love those. And they also had How to Dance in Ohio. Now I'm going to talk about that in a minute. They also have performances and like characters come out. They had this year they had Leo from the new Netflix movie about the iguana with Ben Stiller. Adam Sandler, not Ben Stiller. No, I take that back. With Adam Sandler. They had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I can't believe that next year they turn 40. I can't believe it. And Sesame Street, which I'm also going to be talking about today because I have some strong words about the Sesame Street one. But I just want to talk about the um performance of How to Dance in Ohio. So this is a musical currently running in New York on Broadway. And if you know the documentary, then great. Then you know that it's about individuals who all have different disabilities, autism, cerebral palsy, all that. I haven't seen it myself. I might give it a watch at some point during the holiday season, but and they all want to go to prom. That's pretty much the idea of it. And, they took the documentary and they turned it into a musical. And so now it's a Broadway musical, and they performed at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. They were talking about, oh, it's about autistic individuals. And I sprung up from my bed because I broke my back a little bit today. Yesterday, while I was shopping. I did break it out while walking home. So, and, I was just like, I sprung up and I was like, wait, autism? You're telling me there's autism representation in your parade? And I'm like, I'm not interested in the Broadway performances. I've always thought they were boring. I've never been a Broadway kid. I was a theater kid for several years up until the age of 12, and I quit theater after, after the 6th grade. And, this was very interesting to me because I consider myself a disability advocate. I consider myself an advocate for autistic individuals. I consider myself a person with autism who wants to advocate for others. So seeing this in the parade, I was, excited to find out, they had 12 autistic performers in the cast. They had 12 people, all of them, most of them autistic. Like, I couldn't tell, but, to be perfectly honest, that is pretty much the most exciting thing about the parade is that they have become so inclusive to make it where they can include them in anything. They can include us in anything, and it just shows the viewing audience that autistic individuals can do anything. And that's what makes me really happy about this parade. It really makes me happy about the parade and this performance and how far we've come since they started broadcasting this parade back in the 50s. How far we've come since way back when, how far we've come since autism has become mainstream. And it's great to see people like myself, people who are different from, normal performers like me on that stage, on Herald Square, in front of Macy's in New York. I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing. I think that it is nothing short of extraordinary. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, I talked about the good. I'm going to talk a little bit about the bad, which is Sesame Street. Sesame Street, once again, and they've been making an appearance in the parade since the 70s, since the show's been released. They've been around, I think, almost 50 years in the parade. Well, I watched that part. They were on later than they were in previous years. They'd be on at the 10 a.m. hour, but it started earlier this year. It started at 8:30 Eastern, and so it started earlier this year than it did in previous years. In previous years, it started at 9 a.m. and then I got the parades and floats out by 10, and you could tell. You could obviously tell because it's like you could see the Sesame Street float by 10 o'clock, and they came out at 11:15, and I need to express some disappointment, and I need to call Sesame Street out for something. It is enough that Julia has not been seen in this season at all. So far, she's only been in one. Yeah, that's right. One episode in season 54. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, Hope, she's only been in one episode. The season just started on November 9th. What is the problem? Let me tell you what the problem is. It's Sesame Street. It's Sesame Workshop saying that they've created a character on the autism spectrum that, represents everybody on the spectrum. Obviously, they're doing a poor job of having her in these public appearances. They're doing a terrible job with the show. Like, my best friend and I, we were messaging each other. We were messaging each other online. We were messaging each other online about the parade, and we were watching the parade together, and we were messaging each other on Facebook. And I said, if I don't see Julia in the parade this year, either through the little windows that she's always in, or with Big Bird and the other characters, then I'm not going to be very happy about it. I'm not going to be pleased. There were barely any humans in it too. So, my best friend, sends me a message. I send her a picture, like, of Julia, and she's in the window. You can barely see Julia. My best friend, like, she's watching this, and so, if you are watching this, Emily, please comment and, you know, like, tell me, like, if you barely saw her, which I know you said to me, you didn't see her, like, and she did message me and she said, I didn't see Julia. I didn't see her. I could barely see her. I am autistic. The camera angles were focusing on Elmo and Tango and Tamir and Gabrielle and Big Bird. Obviously, Big Bird, because he's a hallmark staple of this show. And I could barely see Julia. I could barely see her. And as an autistic individual, when I'm applauding the Broadway performance, even though I don't like Broadway that much, even though I don't like Broadway as much as everybody else, I think, even though I think the Broadway performances are kind of boring, even though that's what I think, and, like, if you enjoy them, that's fine, but I think they're boring. But, you know, when when I can see just, you know, Julia, barely see her, and I can only see her through the windows, but the camera's angles are going here, there, here, there, here, there. When I'm like saying, hey, this Broadway performance of How to Dance in Ohio, that was great. But, you know, that's this is something I've been talking about on my channel for ages now. For ages. And I know what you're gonna say, like, well, she was in the parade, what's the problem? You could barely see Julia. You could barely see her. That is a problem. You know, that is a huge problem because, she is supposed to be an autistic Muppet. She is supposed to be represented on the show. She is supposed to be, with the other characters. She is not supposed to be in the background. She is supposed to be, with the other characters. She needs to be appearing in more episodes, but she's barely in the show. She's barely doing any public appearances. She's barely in the parade. I'm sorry for getting on, but she's barely in the parade to the point where my best friend who's watching it with me says, well, I can't see her. I didn't see her. Like, not everyone has the eyesight of Superman. And who was getting more exposure? Elmo, Tango, Tamir, and Gabrielle. Why were Tamir and Gabrielle getting more exposure? Oh, yeah, maybe because they care more about representing multiculturalism than they would people with disabilities, than they would people with autism. So creating this character who is autistic, who is somebody on the autism spectrum, who is someone who literally is someone that I could have grown up watching. That I could have grown up watching, but there was no Muppets like Julia when I was a child. There were no Muppets like her on television. It was like, I'm sorry, like, it was terrible. It just makes me feel terrible because Julia is supposed to be this great character that is supposed to be kind of like an autism advocate for children on the autism spectrum. She is supposed to be that for, kids on the autism spectrum. And you could barely see her. My message to Sesame Workshop today is, you need to do better for Julia. It's enough. When I'm on here, when I'm on this platform talking about how you barely feature her in the show, how Julia is barely ever in the show, okay? She's only in 2 to 4 episodes a season. And when people tell me this, when they tell me, oh, well, Julia's not important. Julia is not important to the show, We need to focus more on Tamir and Ji-yoon and Tango and like all these other issues, To me, those don't matter. To many people on the spectrum, that doesn't matter. Especially when you're partnered together with a hate group. Is this what Autism Speaks wants for you to do? To minimize Julia's appearances in parades, in your show, in anything as possible? Because they are a hate group. They are a autism hate group. They do not care about people like me. They do not care about people in the autism spectrum. They do not care whatsoever. They never have cared. They never will. They never will care. At Sesame Workshop, you have shown me today that you are ableist. You are ableist, because we're barely into season 54, and Julia has only appeared in one episode. One episode. Would that be one episode or two this season? How many episodes are you going to stretch out, until you get tired of the character? How many episodes are you going to stretch out? how many more parade appearances are you going to stretch out until you feel as like Julia is disposable? Because to me, that's what you're telling me, is that you're telling me and other autistic individuals who watch this parade from across the country every year, you're telling them that autism is disposable. You're probably going to retire this character in several years, just like you did Roosevelt Franklin, because, you know, people felt that Roosevelt was racist. You're probably gonna like throw this character away after several years. I do understand Muppets come and go, but you need to do better. You claim yourselves as accepting, inclusive. You preach kinder, stronger, better, kinder, stronger, whatever it is. Let me know in the comments below. Like, but to me, many other autistic individuals today exemplified how you barely use her in this show. You barely even feature her in this show. You barely even feature her on your program. You barely even feature her in the parade. You put her in a window and I can barely see her. Anyone who's watching this has to be pointed to Julia. They have to be pointed at the TV screen which one Julia is. Like, imagine somebody watching this for the first time and they're autistic. Imagine somebody watching this parade on the autism spectrum for the first time and they see Julia for the first time in their life. And they try to find out, if she's actually a character in the show or if she's an anything Muppet. And you treat her like an anything Muppet. You treat her like a background character. And that's not even something that should be a thing. You should be focused more on making Julia more mainstream, making her more present. More episodes of Julia. That's all I ask for. More appearances by Julia. That's all I ask for, especially in the parade. This parade is supposed to be representative of people on the autism spectrum, as well as many people across this wonderful country. You wonder why, why people wonder why I'm going after Sesame Street. People are wondering why. Because they're ableist. Sesame Workshop is the most ableist organization. I'm just going to say it right now. They are ableist. And, you're probably going to question, like, why do you think that? Why do I think that? Like, they are ableist. They are partnered with an ableist corporation. They are partnered with Autism Speaks, which is an autism hate group. They are like not pushing Julia out enough. They are, having her barely show up, and her puppeteer isn't even autistic. hmm And barely. She's barely in any of the show. She's barely in anything. Like, why? What is the point of having Julia? What is the point of having an autistic Muppet if you won't feature her often enough in your show? What is the point? What is the point of having this character represent people like me, being a character that should have been there for me when I was in elementary school, when I was one of the first autistic children in a neurotypical setting who actually went through all 12 years in the early 2000s and early 2010s? Just explain why. Why? What is the point of having this character when you won't even feature her in the parade? Why? Doesn't make sense to me. So you could barely see her. So, yeah. So, it really upsets me that, Sesame Street has become so ableist. And for that, I'm just going to encourage you guys to boycott Sesame Workshop. Write to them. Tell them how upset that Julia should be a autistic individual who should be featured more in the show. I'm going to be writing them an email. I'm going to be complaining. And I hope you guys do the same as well. Go on their social media pages, go on their Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Say something about it. Just don't sit there and watch me complain about it. You do something too. You need to speak up and make your voice heard. It isn't right that they can't, be bothered just to feature Julia and then feature other characters. Tamir has only, God knows how many episodes, maybe almost 100 episodes that he's in, and that's not fair. That's not fair if he's in all the episodes. It's not fair that Julia's not in the opening, but he is, you know. And this parade exemplified that today, too. You can barely even see her. You could barely see Julia. And, it makes me very angry. It doesn't make me feel any happier about the parade. I'm not going to celebrate something that celebrates Thanksgiving if they aren't going to feature a character on the spectrum. I'm going to applaud the other thing that had 12 autistic performers in their cast today. I'm going to applaud them. And if you are one of those 12 autistic performers who was part of the cast of How to Dance in Ohio this morning, if you were one of those 12 people, then I need to say that you guys were fantastic. I need to say this. Thank you. Thank you for representing people like us. Thank you for being that example. Thank you for being a better example than Sesame Street, who can't even be bothered to feature their autistic character more than just a shot in the window where you can barely even see this character. You can barely even see her at all. And it makes me very angry that Sesame Street's doing less. Wow, How to Dance in Ohio is setting an exemplary example. And, you know, it just makes me upset that Sesame Street doesn't even care. They never have, never will. It makes me feel like they don't care. So, because of that, boycott. Boycott Sesame Street. Boycott Sesame Workshop. Boycott. Don't buy anything. Don't support them. Show that if they don't care about autistic individuals, then we don't care about the international co-productions. We don't care about their shows. We don't care about their other shows. We don't care about anything else they're working on. We don't care because they don't care about us. So that's pretty much my review on this year's parade. So what do you guys think? Did you like the How to Dance in Ohio performance? And if you did, let me know what your thoughts are. And do you agree with my thoughts about Sesame Street? If you disagree, then why? I would love to hear what you have to say about this. I would love to hear about what you have to say about, this particular topic. I want to hear about your thoughts about Sesame Street. I want to hear your thoughts about Julia. I want to hear your thoughts about How to Dance in Ohio. I want to hear your thoughts on the parade. What did you think? If you are an individual with autism, if you're an individual on the spectrum, then what did you think? Did you like the parade? Did you like that there was a lot of representation this year? And, you know, did you enjoy this parade at all? Please let me know by leaving a comment in the comments below. Send me an email at that's the with two E, disabilitydiaries@gmail.com. You can also follow me on my Instagram at theedisabilitydiaries. And, that's going to wrap it up for this video. So, I'm going to finish the video here by wishing everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic time, and I hope your Thanksgiving feast is the yummiest Thanksgiving feast in the world. Even if you eat turkey. I don't eat turkey, but if you eat turkey, that's your decision. So, I'm going to go ahead and click out now. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys again soon. See you again soon. Goodbye. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching.